Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of the EduMarketing Series with Ubrik. And this time we have a very special guest, a person who's highly experienced in the K-12 education sector. She has almost 10 years of experience in the K-12 marketing and enrollment, sector, and almost 5 years in senior leadership positions. I'm really glad and warm to welcome Sabrina onto our show. Hi Sabrina.
Hi, thank
Welcome
you so
to
much.
our show.
Thank you.
Yeah, and let's get started. So let's begin with a quick introduction about yourself. So tell me, what brought you to the UAE?
So I'm originally from Algeria, but I was born and raised in France.
Mhm.
And so, after graduating, I moved to US for a while to finish my studies. And then when I finished my studies, I graduated with a master's degree in business. I just felt that potentially I needed to move to a country where you have more opportunities and where the values are more aligned with what I'm looking for.
Wow.
So, you make your research and you kind of look at different options. And at the time, the Middle East was not, very well known from people in Europe in that sense. And then I looked at the UAE because my family have been there very early in 2000. So I was like, okay, let's give it a try. So I moved here and the opportunities came very quickly. It's such a dynamic sector and they know how to identify talents, and therefore I'm really thankful that I was given this opportunity to be part of such an amazing country and population.
Amazing. You're speaking about opportunities, and that's going to be my next question. So how did you start your professional career? I know you are having a very successful one today. So where did it all begin?
So obviously I started in France first, but then if I talk about the UAE in particular, in the area where I am now, I started with Swiss International School as a marketing executive. And that was the very first time I was working for the education sector, and specifically in marketing. And so it was a fantastic adventure because I was the founding team to launch the school.
Wow.
So I was in charge of developing the market strategy for the year and make sure we meet our enrollment targets. And we were really successful. On the first year of operation, we got more than 300 enrollments. And that was very fulfilling. And I think this is when I started falling in love with this sector in particular. Because I felt that was very fulfilling. Because you don't necessarily sell a typical product here. It's a service, and you make sure you deliver an experience to students and that will stay with them for their entire lifetime. So I felt that is a responsible area to be in, and therefore I've been there since.
Very good, very good. And that leads to my next question as well. So what are you doing today? I know you are in a senior leadership role, but definitely our audience would love to hear from you.
Sure. I'm the Group Head of Enrollments and Marketing for Aldar Education. I've been there now for almost 4 years. Prior to that, I was with James Education. So I have now a wealth of knowledge about the K-12 education sector and the market and, its competitive landscape as well, because this is very key. So I manage everything related to marketing, communication, customer experience, and sales for the group.
Okay. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. So next we are going to move into a few icebreaker questions. Yeah, just to get to know you a little bit more.
Okay.
So if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be? I'm already guessing the answer, but
yeah, no, it's here for sure. That's why I've been here now for 10 years and I'm not moving. I think it just fulfills all my requirements in terms of lifestyle, values of the leaders, and the people are nice here.
Absolutely. So I think that is the reason why all of us, from different parts of the world have come to the UAE and call it home. Fantastic. So what was your favorite subject in school?
Surprisingly, it was history.
Oh my God.
And it still is. I love everything about past history and what happened. I'm big also on geopolitics, so this is, I think, related to it, I think.
Okay.
I love to understand our past so I can actually understand our future. And I think that's valuable. You learn a lot from what happened in the past, so then you can make the right choices in the near future. And geopolitics, especially where we live, is key to understand. And if you understand the past, then you will understand what's happening right now.
I think out of all the marketers I've interviewed, you're the first person who said history, but definitely makes a lot of sense from what you're saying. Definitely. And okay, next one is an interesting question. If you won $10 million tomorrow,
Yes.
what would you spend it on?
It will be cliche, but I think in properties and shares, so I can have passive income while I enjoy things that I'm doing. And I still feel that I will still be doing something related to marketing, even if I had that much money.
Fantastic. And okay, the next one's more interesting. If you had a chance to write a book tomorrow,
Yeah.
what would you write about?
I think I need to reflect on that from 2 points of view, as a professional, but also as a mom. I think is how to be happy in a modern era. The UAE market, I think, is one of the most demanding in the world. I think I saw actually a research where we are the second the hardest working people in the world after people from New York, but I'm not sure. So because it's such a demanding market, you give it everything you have because you have high expectation. Everybody works very well at very high level, but you do need to remember that also you have your own life. So you need to find a balance between work, personal life balance. But I don't think it's a balance actually, because work is part of your life. You spend more than, I say, 70% of your day there. So you need just to make sure it's well connected, seamlessly, and that will create your happiness at the end. So that's why I think I'd love to write a book about this.
It's a fantastic topic to write a book on because, as you said, everybody in the UAE would relate to this very much. Because one of the things is adoption in the UAE market is at the peak, right?
Yeah.
And with this adoption comes a lot of challenges to stay on top of your game all the time. And UAE as a country is also progressing because of that, I believe. So definitely a good one, and I will definitely read that book. So if you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pasta. I'm big on Italian food.
Oh, okay.
That's why I love it.
Okay, interesting. Good. And okay, what do you think the world will look like in 5 years?
I think AI would take over a lot of kind of boring tasks that we don't necessarily need to do. I don't think it will replace people, or human, but it will help us in being more efficient. So we can actually focus on things that require our creativity, our thinking. So that's how I see it. So I think, for any new generation, they need to look at AI regardless. I think it's a must, and understand how it can be integrated within your day-to-day life. Okay. And obviously, it's very related to marketing. It's key to have those as part of your automations moving forward.
Absolutely. I think without being fearful of AI, I think people should become smart as to how AI can make their life easier.
Yeah, you need to adopt it for sure.
100%. And you see a lot of change happening in 2024, 2025. There are major shifts in this. And definitely it's going to be a very different world soon. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the meaty part of our interview now.
Sure.
So this is related to one question I asked you earlier, Sabrina. So did education choose you or you chose education?
I think education chose me.
Why do you say that?
Because I was approached to join that school at the time, and then once I joined, I loved it. So I don't think if I wasn't approached, I don't think I would have been in education.
So you never wanted to join a school, but it's just that
because
opportunity was present.
Yeah, you don't seriously, when you're in marketing, they sell you be in marketing in fashion or retail or those type of industries, right? But they rarely talk about education. I really feel that it's an industry that is not well known from a marketing perspective. Therefore, you don't necessarily think about it. But because the education market in UAE is one of the biggest in the world, there is a huge work to be done here, and there is high expectation, and there's so much you can do from a marketing perspective that not everybody knows about. And I think that's why at the time as well, I probably didn't know about it, because you think about schools that are kind of boring institution and don't look at them from a commercial perspective when you talk about marketing. But here there are much more, and in UAE, so many private schools that do an amazing work with innovative programs, so you do have fantastic experiences to sell to students, and that's probably why.
Super. So my next question is going to be about, we spoke about stress, we spoke about a lot of other things. So what does your daily routine look like without the stressful parts, of course?
I mean, I mean, you need to understand if you're a marketer, the stress comes with it, right? Because our job is super dynamic. So you need to make sure that you might, plan to do an event right now, and in 5 minutes you will deal with a crisis communication, and that's the beauty of the job. And you need to be adaptive and you need to be flexible. So the stress is part of it, but it just depends on how you cope with it. But to be honest, I think the coping mechanism comes with experience and time. Because more you experience that type of stress, then more you will develop the right mechanism. So does that answer your question?
100%.
Yeah.
Let's move to the next one. So what's a common myth about the job you do or your industry?
I think I did touch upon that before, that education sector is a very easy job to be part in. But actually it's not. I really feel that it's as difficult as working in FAB or retail, because the difference is that we're selling, again, I mentioned before, experiences.
Yes.
It's not a tangible product that you can actually touch.
Absolutely.
And the more difficult part is that you are the customer. You're not experiencing it. It's your child.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
your perception of that experience is through your child's eyes.
Right.
You're not sitting in a classroom. Your child is.
Absolutely.
So you try to grasp if your child is happy, if he's getting the right, education.
Yeah.
But also you're trying to say, is that a good value for money? So I paid X amount of money.
Correct.
If my child comes back home, he is happy. Okay, do I want more? Is that sufficient? So I think it's the difficult part of it, and it's very complex to sell because there is a borderline between. Most of the private schools are for profit, right?
Yeah.
So you need to be able to sell the product without looking too commercial as well. We need to remember at the end of the day, we're dealing with children, right? They are the ambassadors of tomorrow's society. So we have a responsibility towards that. And this is where the messaging that you use are key.
Okay.
And they need to be carefully curated
Yes.
to each target audience based on the offering of each school. So if I have multiple schools in the network, I will not be selling it in the same way.
Yeah.
That can't be appealing to parents because they will have very different experiences.
So anyone who's thinking education marketing, especially in the schools, is an easy, cool job, it is not.
It is not, but I don't want to scare them away because it's really rewarding.
100%.
As I said, I feel I am responsible when I have students coming in. I feel they're all my children because I make sure that I bring them through the door, and then obviously the education team take over in the school, and the educators are fantastic, and they make sure the experience is great, but we are the one bringing them through.
Exactly.
So I'm really proud of that.
And definitely, as you said, I think this brings a different level of accountability. Unlike other jobs, if you're selling a product, sometimes you don't know even what happens after the product is taken by the consumer.
Yeah.
But here, it's not like that. It's a child growing up with their life, so it's a different level of accountability. And I'm glad you gave that answer. It really cleared a lot of things. Yeah.
And something I just want to mention is a lot of time, if the family that joined us was happy, then the child would graduate again on and get married, and then you would have the children joining the same school.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of a never-ending process, right? So that's why it's so key to make sure you give them the best experience, because they will be your long-term ambassadors.
Thank you, Sabrina. I mean, really golden insights there. So, what is one of the biggest challenges that you're facing in your job right now?
I think the competitive landscape right now is very high. As I said, it's one of the biggest K-12 markets in the world. So obviously, everybody's on its A game. Everybody's trying to take students from. It's not that big, right? So we are all fighting for
the same share.
So we need to make sure we have the right product and advertise at the right time. But I can see a shift from kind of a companion-centric approach to a more customer-centric approach. So in the past, let's say even like maybe 5 to 6 years, it was just, okay, we're opening a new school, that's our brand, sell it, right?
Yeah.
Now what we're trying to do is actually, what does the parent want from an experience perspective? What are they looking for? So it's not that umbrella offering that we're sharing to everyone, but you are looking for a British school, exactly what are you looking for, or what are you interested in, especially if your child is interested in. Is it sports? Is it performing arts? And then this is what we'll bring to the table, because there are expectations that schools will deliver the highest academic level. that's a basic expectation. But what can I get more from the school, right? And this is what is changing right now, I would say, because all the schools are offering a very good rate of education level.
Correct. So what you said is basically, if I'm to rephrase it, basically this kind of personalization at scale, right? Earlier it's just very generic thing. You just put out something and you say, take it or leave it, but it's not like that now anymore.
Yeah.
Because everybody is trying to be very different, creating different experiences. And as you said, I was also thinking like, the complexity of the offering, right? A particular course, a particular sports. Somebody might even join your school because of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so it's a driver and influencer in the enrollment decision, which is fascinating. So, okay, the next question is like, obviously you have a lot of experience in the education market, but there should be one lesson which you have learned probably the hard way. And what is it?
Obviously, everything is driven by financial in terms of decisions. And often, when you're younger or you just started in your career, and you might see that certain decisions that are made are not the right one, you don't necessarily share what you think.
Yeah.
And I think with experience, I did have a shift, and maybe because now I have a bit of a larger platform, I can share what I think in terms of the product is putting out there. Because at the end of the day, as marketer, we understand the competition, we do our research, we know what are the new trendy kind of approaches we can put together. So, because at the end of the day, it will impact your enrollments. So you need to let them know. Exactly. They see you as the expert. If you don't bring that into the table, that will have very bad impact on your financials. And I think this is what I learned in the past. I'm not doing that mistake again. Anything you need to ask for it to make sure you are able to deliver.
Super. I think a good piece of advice for a lot of people out there as well. And one of the next things I'm going to ask you is, a lot of young people are watching our show. So what would you say as the most important personality trait for someone to join the K-12 marketing ecosystem?
I think resilience is very important.
Okay.
You might fail, but learn from your failures because the market is dynamic. Learn from your failures and try again. Be also innovative in the way you approach your marketing activities. Be aware of your market and your competition. And that is key. You're not alone out there. So don't think that you just say join my school and then join your school, right? A parent, before choosing a school, they look at 10 different options.
Definitely.
10, and that's a lot. And for you to be able to stand out from 10 options, you really need to drive it further. And how do you do that? Is through personalization, specific offering that other schools don't have, but you will only know what to do if you know what others are doing.
Correct. Okay. And you've been in the industry for nearly 10 years now.
Yeah.
So when you joined, things would have been very different. So what are some of the major changes you see from where you started to where it is today?
I think from a technology perspective, 10 years ago, there are no schools that were using a CRM system.
Yeah.
None. They were having an admission system that was the CRM system, but there were no detailed use of data to drive marketing activities.
Correct.
So budgets for marketing at the time were always very small, except when you launch a new school, because they were not understanding the power of it and what would be the return on investment.
Yes.
So for example, I give an example, especially when it comes to public relation or PR. So a lot of companies don't see the value of doing awareness campaigns, right? Through media outreach campaigns, etc., because they don't see the direct impact on your enrollments. Digital marketing, you can, because you're tracking that, right? And often this is what they don't want to cover in the marketing budget, right? So that's the first thing they want to make saving on. But they don't realize that actually it's a 360 marketing approach. You have to be on that sphere as well, so that contributes to your digital marketing, to your radio campaigns. You can't only decide and be on digital marketing, expect results, right? At the end, repetition is key, but also reinforcing the message of your school through different platforms is very important. Digital marketing is important for sure, but there are other ways of reaching out to the right audience.
That's right.
And often, I say potential below the line activities are not really looked at. So it's very important that we cover those.
So thank you, Sabrina. And also, we spoke a lot about personalized experiences, custom experience. Now, this is also something that people would have not considered maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, people were
Yes.
looking at custom experience when it comes to the education marketing. So, how important of a factor has it become? Because you're doing this, right? And we see you also, opening so many schools, things like that. And with this, you also have a need to kind of, niche out your differentiation. So, how important is custom experience when it comes to K-12 marketing today? And what do you think are some of the things that people need to know about this new topic?
It's key.
Yeah.
For me, it's the most important because you need to understand the experience that your parents are actually having right now. So surveying your parents multiple times through different touch points is very important to gather the right data. Once you have the data, then you can learn from those and develop the right strategies. But if you don't, how can you know what you need to improve, right? And then once you have the data and you know which activity or strategy you need to put in place, then you can look at innovative systems. AI, chatbots, virtual reality, so on and so forth, right? You can include those, but without the data, you will not know. And I think a lot of time before, the only data we were looking at are enrollments numbers.
Correct.
And attrition and retention, but we actually need to ask the parents what do they think about the school.
Correct.
Ask the child what do they think about the school. Ask the teachers, right? All the stakeholders that evolve around that ecosystem need to be surveyed so we can gather the right data and implement the right strategies.
So I think for anyone who's kind of doing the traditional marketing, basically they won't get what a custom experience is.
No.
But if you are a more organized, brand, basically then you have the need to create this. And as you said, the customer experience also has to be looked at through data and not just, coding something as a customer experience itself.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, all the decisions that you're going to take has to be data driven and also put into practice in a meaningful way. I think that is what you said. And definitely I could relate to it because the more and more we hear brands wanting to create that kind of impact, the more usage of CRMs, a lot of technology to bring in this data at the fingertips so that they can make better decisions, especially the marketers and all the other stakeholders.
If I can mention another point, actually, is also making sure you have the right people. They are the ambassadors of the school. So you can do the best marketing campaign ever, and then people will come through the door. But if they don't have a good experience with the receptionist, the teacher, I don't know, anyone else that actually are in the school, then you will lose your customer. So all the efforts and the budget you have spent in investment will be lost. So training is key.
Correct.
To train all the stakeholders that revolve around the customer in terms of customer experience, communication is really important.
100%. And as you said, marketing's job is to, take that brand promise to prospective parents and students. But definitely there is the brand promise delivery part, which a lot of other stakeholders are doing it together. And if you don't have this alignment, I think obviously a lot of things will fall through the cracks and could relate to it 100%. And what do you think are some of the key factors, if you were to name only a few, that are driving enrollments today? Or do you think there is more?
I think it's a very complex one, to be
Yeah,
honest.
exactly.
Because you have the offering, which is the first thing parents look at, but there is also the reputation and perception of the product. And then there is the experience that comes after. Like I mentioned, everything might be aligned and you might be very excited to join, but then when you join, you might have experienced a great, maybe a discussion with one of the staff, or I don't know, the sports activities are not at the level that you expect, and then you will lose the customer because of that. So I always say, we really need to make sure that we work hard on retention, because then it makes our life much easier. Instead of bringing new joiners every year, then that pool becomes very small. So instead of bringing 20% of new joiners every year, I'll bring only 5%. I'll be more selective to make sure that I have the best students possible in my school, get the best outcomes. And so I think both work together. That's why understanding the experience on a day-to-day basis from those families are key.
Whenever you speak, I understand this sense of passion you have for the thing that you're doing. So I want to understand what has been the most rewarding moment in your life. I mean, in your career, so far.
We launched a scholarship program
Okay.
a couple of years ago, and that was really rewarding for me because I was able to support students to achieve, reach, premium quality education that they don't necessarily had before. So that's very fulfilling for me. And they are fantastic students and so talented that they might have been overlooked because they didn't have the financial means to be able to access that scholarship. And now that this is out there, this is really rewarding.
Beautiful. Okay, so the next question is about those who aspire to become an education marketer, K-12 marketer. And probably a lot of these people also will be applying to your schools for jobs. Yeah. So if there is something that they need to start doing in order to get into this industry, what would be one or two pieces of advice you would give them?
So obviously, to be knowledgeable in marketing and in the new trends, that's really important because we want to be on the tip, right?
Correct.
You don't want to be doing the same thing that everybody else is doing. So because they will see you as an expert wherever you go. But the other thing I think is very important, especially in the education sector, is having the best communication skill and relationship management, because you will be dealing with multiple different stakeholders and you need to be able to navigate that, right? Especially when you have financial targets behind, you need to be able to convince the senior leadership team of your school. You need to be able to convince the leadership team of the company that's actually investing in that school. You need to be able to manage your front of house team in the school. So you need to have that drive and kind of relationship management skill to be able to navigate through that, because there are very different dynamics. So I think this is key. If you don't have that, it will be very difficult to work for an education sector. The other industries, you don't deal directly with the customer. You don't deal with a large team in different schools. You deal only with the management, you do your product, and you don't, kind of thing. But here, no, you deal with the end user, and you deal with the people that are around that ecosystem. And I'm not forgetting as well that you also deal with the regulator. So that's another the layer as well that we need to keep in mind.
Definitely. So I think anyone who wants to apply to be a part of Sabrina's team, I think now you know what exactly she's looking for. So I think we've concluded the main part of our discussion, Sabrina. Wonderful so far, and we have one more section which we need to complete, which is going to be an interesting one again. It's the round we call the rapid fire round.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's get on to that.
I'm ready.
Okay. So Sabrina, now we are getting into the rapid fire round. Yeah. First one, primary marketing challenge. A, adapting to digital marketing trends. B, proving ROI and marketing spend. 3, engaging with the target audience effectively, or keeping up with competition.
B.
Okay, proving ROI and marketing spend. Okay, most valuable marketing tool: social media platforms, CRM software, content management systems, data analytic tools.
CRM software.
Okay, fantastic. Key factor in enrollment success: personalized communication, competitive pricing, strong brand reputation, innovative program offerings.
I'd say all, but personalized communication, I think.
We spoke about it as well. Yeah, of course. Preferred professional development opportunity: industry conferences and seminars, online courses and webinars, networking events, or mentorship programs.
Mentorship programs.
Oh, really? Okay. Good. Insight into future trends: artificial intelligence and automation, personalization and customization, virtual reality and augmented reality in education, sustainability and social responsibility. Which one do you think has the greatest impact in
AI. For sure, automation.
Even before I ask question. So thank you so much for being a wonderful guest, and you've been very active, came up with some great insights for our audience. I loved hosting you today. So I hope you had a good experience also.
Yeah, definitely, it was lovely. I love talking about education, obviously this is what I do. So thank you so much for hosting me today, and I hope that will be insightful.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Sabrina. And guys, watch out for our next episode. This will be out very soon. Thank you so much.